Barber says, if I had 100 shares of Tesla, how would you approach covered calls? You want to get into it. And he also says, you were ready to buy on that last minute dip, but your supervisor called you too late. Oh no, bummer. Okay, so if you have 100 shares and you want to approach covered calls, there's a number of different approaches that you can take selling covered calls. I happen to like this. I like selling covered calls a lot. I view it as an opportunity to maximize your cash flow. Anytime when we talk about maximizing cash flow, and so I love this question because it fits in with the whole concept of my channel, maximizing your cash flow. Everything I do, I want to be thinking about, how do I maximize my cash flow? How do I make things do multiple jobs that can lead to financial benefits or other benefits? You know, maybe you get to spend more time doing other things that you like. So in this case, if you've got 100 shares that are just sitting there and you're going to hold them forever, what are you going to do with them? You can sit there and just wait for them to grow until eventually, years down the road, you sell them to somebody and live off of the income, or you give them to your beneficiaries as a what is the term for that? I forget what you call it. Anyways, you give it to them upon your death, right? So there's a few things you can do with that, but it's inheritance. There you go. Thank you. But you're doing one job. I mean, that stock's doing one job. It's just sitting there gaining value. Now, some people can borrow against that stock. You could borrow against that stock utilizing margin, and that's one way to put that stock to work for you while it still stays in your portfolio. So you can borrow against that stock, use that for something else, right? That's what margin is in your account. You could get a margin call if that happens, though, in which case, you know, your stock price drops, and now you get a margin call. You have to sell some of that stock, or you have to deposit more money to cover that margin. But that is one way that we can use the stock in our portfolio to do more than one job. It's going to sit in there and grow, and I'm going to be able to borrow against it to do other things that I need to do. Another way that you can put that stock to work for you is to sell covered calls against it. Selling a covered call is giving somebody else the opportunity to buy your 100 shares at a certain price or higher. Or actually, really, it's at a certain... It's really at any price. You're giving them the option to buy your shares at a certain price. Doesn't matter where the stock price is. So let's say Tesla right now is in the 750 range. I think it's actually... All right, we'll work with some real numbers here. Tesla is at 763. So Tesla's at 763, and if somebody wants to buy your shares, you go to the options market. If you want to give somebody the opportunity to buy your shares, you go to the options market and you choose a strike price. You say, okay, I will sell my shares to somebody at this price on this expiration date. What happens is that person that buys that call from you, they have the opportunity to buy those shares from you, 100 shares. An option is 100 shares. So they can buy those 100 shares from you at that strike price for that expiration date. So in this case, let's say the expiration date is this Friday, January 8th, and the strike price is $800. So somebody says, Tesla's at 763. I think there's a good chance it could get to 800 and maybe even higher than that. So I want to buy that option from somebody. That option right now at $800 for January 8th, you could sell that or you could buy it for about $196. So Tesla's at 760. If the price goes above $800, that person you sold the option to would be able to buy your shares for $800 a share. So $80,000. They're going to give you $80,000, and you still get to keep that $196 that they paid you for that option. If the price ends up below $800 on Friday, most likely they're not going to exercise their option. they're just going to take the loss. Or if they really want to own 100 shares, they'll buy the shares at whatever the price is because it's lower than the $800 per stock. So you get to keep that premium. Regardless of what happens, whether they buy the shares from you or not, whether they exercise or not, you get to keep that $196 premium. So the reason people like to sell these covered calls is because you're guaranteed to get money right there, and you only lose your shares if you make more money. In this case, the share price has to go up by $37 a share. So $3,700 in order to get above $800, in which case somebody would exercise those shares. Now, theoretically, the person who buys that option could exercise that option at any time. They just have to pay you the $800. Doesn't matter what the share price is. But they can exercise that option at any time before the expiration date. Once it expires, that opportunity is gone. So for the person who buys it, they have what we call time decay, which is where you're asking about. They have what we call time decay. The person who buys it, that option loses value every day if that stock price trades sideways or goes down, because it's $40 away from that $800 option price. Now, as the seller of the option, you like that time decay. You actually want that to expire worthless most of the time. I mean, maybe you just want to sell your shares. In that case, you would like the share price to go up, but still, you're going to make money either way. So the time decay works for you if you're a seller. So you get that premium and you get to keep it even if it doesn't sell. So what a lot of people will do, there's a few different tactics that you can take in order to maximize the use of those shares. If you want to keep the shares, you don't want to sell the shares, you might do a really high strike price, one that it is highly unlikely to hit. So this Friday is 2 days away. Tesla might actually hit 800 by this Friday. So if you wanted a more safe bet, you might do a strike price of $830, in which case you get $46 for that option. The higher up, the farther away you go, the least likely the underlying stock price is to reach that price, and you'll have to sell your shares. So a lot of people do this for regular income. They'll do a really high strike price, just collect that small premium, and then do it every single week. Other people might like to test the waters a little bit, do a strike price a lot closer. Doesn't matter. They may not care if they sell the stock because they get to keep the premium, and they'll just sell it again. They'll buy the stock back and sell it again the next week. In this case, we're at 760. We're at 763. Let's say that I'm happy with making $1,000 between now and Friday on those shares. I could sell the 770 call for $788. If Tesla goes above $770, that option is going to get exercised by Friday. I get to keep the $788, but the stock went up by $7 to get past that price. So I'm ultimately going to make about $1,500 by doing that. Now, my break even there is $777. That means I don't lose out on any upside as long as Tesla doesn't go above $777 by Friday. I made a really good trade. Even if I sell my shares, I get that $788 and I can buy back those 100 shares and still be in a better position. So that's what we look at. And you got to kind of weigh your approach to trading as to how far out of the money you pick that strike price so that you can do it and make some money. You don't have to sell this week. The farther out you go, the more premium you get for it. So you might say, you know what? I'm sitting on 100 Tesla shares. It would be really nice if I could make $1,000 a week. Can I make $1,000 a week if I sell an option to buy my shares out a month? Well, let's look. February 5th. We would only need to make, that's February 5th is a month away, 4 weeks, right? I would only need to make $4,000 that would pay me $1,000 a week for that option. I can get $4,000 by selling the 810 strike price by February 5th. So that ensures that I'm going to make $1,000 a week between now and then, and I'm not going to sell my shares for less than $810 a share. So I'm guaranteed, if I lose my shares, I'm guaranteed to make $47 a share. So $4,700 plus the $1,000 a week that I just got. That would be $8,000 by February 5th. $8,700 by February 5th by selling that 810 strike price. Now, maybe Tesla doesn't end up over 810 and I just get to keep the $4,000. That would be a pretty nice scenario if I actually want to just keep the shares. And in the off chance that I don't get to keep them, I still make a pretty good profit. So really good ways that you can use that and sell covered calls. If you want a more specific scenario, let me know. Let me see what you're writing in here. Yeah, you do keep the premium. Don't have to worry about time decay. Do you suggest doing covered calls at least a month in advance? What's the best expiration date? So the time decay, as a seller, you get the most value within the last 2 weeks of an option. So I have a picture of this. Okay, so time decay, you can see 120 days to 90. You don't lose very much. This is the decay in value. This is it coming down in value. 60 days to 90, it starts to pick up a little bit. 90 to 60. 60 to 30 gets a little bit steeper, but here the last 30 days, it kind of falls off a cliff. And so you lose, if you're the purchaser of options, you're going to lose the most value if it's outside of the money during the last 30 days. Because there's no more time value. Time is running out for that stock to catch up to it. And it makes sense because if you think about where you expect a stock price to go to, 4 months away, you're really optimistic that it can hit a higher outside of the money price. The closer it gets to that expiration day, the more nervous you get as to whether it's going to get to that price if it hasn't reached it yet. And so the value of it falls. You're not going to feel comfortable paying more money for something that you really don't feel like it could get to. And so that's why we see the value go away. Because everybody else sees the same thing. And they know that, okay, nobody's going to pay me that much for that option. The odds of it getting to that are, minuscule. So they tend to go away, and the closer you get to that expiration day, the more obvious it becomes that there is no way that that's going to be able to make some money. So that should answer your question as far as time decay and the best time to sell. So the best time to sell, when you look at your options, you want to take a look at theta. Theta is the time value of those options. So and it gives you the options per share price. So all of the options are 100 shares, but the theta will give you for one share price. So if it says 51 cents, that's the equivalent of $51 a day that you're going to lose on that option due to time decay. Now, as the seller of that option, you like that price to be really, really high. So when it comes to Tesla, when we look at that February 5th option where it's worth $4,000, the time decay on that 810 option is 101. So it's $101 a day that it loses value. Let's look at next Friday's option. Same time, or same amount, $810 option. It's only $863 for that option. Time decay is 113. So it's an extra $13 a day. But that's still pretty far outside the money. Let's get a little bit closer to inside. Let's get a little closer to the money. If we go to the 780 strike price, Now that one loses $139 a day. It gets a lot faster. January 8th, so this Friday, we'll go back to that $800 call. This one's not going to be as high. No, it is as high. This one's $172 a day. So expiring in 2 days, $172 a day that goes down in value. So really, really fast. We've got some 770 strike price that ends this Friday. Out of the money, it loses $317 a day. That's assuming the stock price doesn't go up. Now it won't lose that much if it's going up, but if it goes sideways or down, it'll lose that much. So Oliver says basically a short time frame with covered calls is like a squeeze against the buyer. Exactly. Yep. Jones says rolling the call is also possible if you want to keep the shares. Yes. How did I miss that? So if you don't want to sell the shares, but you sold a covered call, and now the stock price, for some reason the stock price goes up higher than you were expecting, and now you're sweating because you don't want to sell the shares. You just wanted to collect the premium. You went really high, and now you can't buy it back because it's too expensive. You don't want to buy it back because the cost of that option got so expensive. You sold it for cheap. Now it's expensive, and you still don't want to give away the shares. There is a way to get out of it, and we call it rolling. You roll out and you roll up. So what that means is you're going to buy back the option that you sold, and you're going to do this as one trade. You buy it back, and you go to the next week, and you move up a little bit, and you find a higher strike price that you can get the same or more money for, so you can still get a credit. So in this case, let's say I sold the 770, now let's say I sold the 760 strike price for this weekend, for this Friday. I sold it for $200 last week, okay? When the price for Tesla was a lot lower. And we thought, oh, there's no way it's getting up to 760. Well, it got up over 760. And now that option is $11.75. So if I don't have $11.75 to just buy the option back, or if I just don't want to, I will do a roll. And so I would buy that one back. And at the same time, I'm going to look at next week, and I want to be able to get more than $11.75. So if I look at, I can roll it to the next week and up. So I can sell the $7.95 for $1,200. So that would take me out of the deal that I was in, which was promising to give away or sell 100 of my shares for $770. This puts me in a position to where I don't have to sell it unless it goes over $7.95, and I get a little bit of a credit because it only cost me $11.75 to get out of the other one. I get $1,200 for this one, and so that means I get $25 for rolling it. The downside is I got to roll it out a week, right? So I miss out on really selling another covered call and making a few $100 that week. I'm only making $25 that week, but at least I got to keep my shares, and I don't have to worry about anything. So that's an option. We call that rolling the call. So thanks, Jones, for pointing that out. Can't believe I missed saying that. I hope you found value in today's video. If you'd like to find out more about IUL and whole life, check out these videos right over here, and we'll see you next time.
Now go maximize your cash flow.